If you ever had any doubt or wondering about whether or not God expressed through dance and song, that should absolutely remove the doubt and wondering. I mean, oh, absolutely, the expression of God coming through all of that. So thank you both very much. I know you're back in the back changing, but thank you for that. One of the things that we talked about at the weekend a Saturday ago was working with the folks who attend, the membership, the congregation, and talking to them about recommitting and rededicating themselves to unity principles. And that's not always the easiest thing to do, because we don't have something like you do in many traditional religions where we can go pull out the Nicene Creed and the Apostles' Creed and just go through those and say, oh, okay, now we've done it. That's not what unity's about. And Tracy was quoting from Eric Butterworth this morning, and in Eric Butterworth's book, Unity, A Quest for Truth, Eric makes the statement that eventually what you will discover unity means is what unity means to you. So it's not about a set idea. It's not about a creed. So I did come up with something that we're going to do in a minute, but to kind of lay a basis for it, one of the things I want to talk about is a little bit about unity. Unity does not make a claim that it is the only path to follow. In unity, we really pray and know that that living spirit of truth, that truth with a capital T, guides each person to their rightful place. Their rightful place for spiritual growth, their rightful place for spiritual unfoldment. And because of that, participation in, being in unity is unique. It's not like other religions. It's not like other disciplines. The most important component for being in unity is the desire to know God. That's the most important thing in unity. And then following with that, the desire to understand, to love, and to follow God's laws of being. And we term those laws of being spiritual truths and spiritual principles. Each person, every person here, is wholly free to live his or her life according to the inspiration of truth from within. In unity, we believe that the church is not a place. In unity, we believe that it is always a people. So where you are walking with others, that is the church. That is the sacredness. It is not a sacred building, but it's a holy assembly. What makes this place sacred is not the building that's here. It's you who have come in and who are sitting here. That's what makes this sacred. The church is you who pray. It's not where you pray. There is no sanctuary of God but the soul. So rather than being a system of worship, unity is really a way of life. It's taking what you experience, taking what comes into your heart here or when you're in connection with others, and taking it into the parking lot, taking it into the street, taking it into the community, taking it into the world. Unity students, those of us who find our path being unity, are asked to do their best to live the truth teachings on a daily basis, not just on Sunday. It's not coming in and worshiping for an hour. It's coming in, getting our batteries charged. That's why I come to service, so that I can go out and so I can be the truth, so I can be principles, so I can be in the world. That's what it's about. The objective of unity affiliation is to help people live more effective, more spirit-centered lives. We unite so that we might minister more effectively to others and to those around us. That's why we come together, to get that charge. By our commitment in the sharing of consciousness in the congregation, we become the channel by which others are blessed in their lives. That's what we are about. So, dear friends, dear ones, we are not strangers. We are not sojourners, but are fellow citizens of the household of God. We are each children of God. And in the awareness of that child that you are, I'm going to invite you to rededicate yourself to spirit and to principle. If this does not feel right to you, or if there's something that says, "Oh, I don't want that," there's no punishment for sitting silent. It's not like not saying the catechism when you're in church. This is yours. And so with that in mind, I invite you to join with me. The Spirit of the Lord fills our holy temples, and we now declare our purpose. Together, I now declare that I am a holy place. We are made holy by the presence of God dwelling within us and expressing through us, who declare truth here together. I now declare that I am set apart to God's service, and I am made sacred by God's presence within me. The ground whereupon we stand is now rededicated to God and to God's service. Together, the ground whereupon I stand is now rededicated to God and to God's service. Every cell and fiber of our body temple is now rededicated to God and to God's service. Together, every cell and fiber of my body temple is now rededicated to God and to God's service. All that we serve are now consecrated to God and to God's service. Together, all I serve are now consecrated to God and to God's service. We acknowledge God as the spirit and fulfillment of our lives and commit to live the principles of unity in our lives. Together, I acknowledge God as the spirit and fulfillment of my life and commit to live the principles of unity in my life. There is one presence and one power, active in my life and in the universe, God, the good, omnipotent. And that is the truth, and so it is. Amen. One of the most loquacious preachers I think I've ever heard begins his TV appearance by saying, "Get ready." But he doesn't just say, "Get ready" once. He says, "Get ready, get ready." And folks know something's about to happen. They know that they need to be getting ready. While I don't tend to get that vociferous, there's no doubt that change in our lives is as important and is as necessary as this gentleman makes it seem. You want your life to be different? Do you want your life to be different? Get ready. Get ready to change. I'm sorry, there's no other way. There's no other way to do it. There's no other way for your life to be different. There's no other way for things to be different than to change. You cannot stay the same and change. It just doesn't work. I know it sounds simple, but I've heard folks say, all I want is for my life to be different. Make all those people change. I don't want to change. You can't do it. It's not a possibility. The world, our lives, doesn't work like that. So if you want your life to be different, it is necessary to change. And if you want your life to be different, and if you really commit to it to spirit, you better get ready and hang on, because it will happen. And you may go through it kicking and screaming, but if you make a commitment, Spirit's going to be there. And at some point you're going to say, oh my gosh, what have I done? Because that's the way it will work. Too often in our lives, we are not willing to leave the things we have accumulated. We are not willing to let them go. We're not willing to release them and let them go. I've talked with folks over the years, and I remember at one point working with somebody in counseling, and they were talking about releasing and letting things go. And they told me, said, you know, Albert, I've never released anything that didn't have claw marks on it. And that's the way our lives are at times. We're I'm releasing it, and we just see the blood coming down the back. We're hanging on. I heard a story several years ago about a person who had made a pot of coffee, and then after they poured the coffee into a cup, they picked up what they believed to be sugar, and they poured a little salt in their coffee. And they tasted it. Oh, that was terrible. So they knew of a chemical that would change the taste of the salt, so they got that and put it in there, and now the coffee tasted like the chemical. But they knew of a chemical that would change that one. So they put a chemical in there to make that change, and it tasted like that chemical. After spending a great deal of time wrestling with that, someone finally observed, why don't you just throw the cup out and start over? Why don't you just pour it out and begin with a new cup? Begin again. Why not let go and begin anew? Quit trying to plod through life carrying all of the old ideas. Leave them behind. Begin anew. Anthony DeMello, who has been a wonderful teacher for me for probably 30 years in his writings, has one book called 1 Minute Wisdom. And in that book, he has a little story of healing, and that story goes like this. To a distressed person who came to him for help, the teacher said, "Do you really want a cure?" "Of course. If I did not, would I bother to come to you?" "Oh, yes, most people do." "What for?" "Not for a cure. That's painful. For relief." To those who studied with him, the teacher said, "People who want a cure, provided they can have it without pain, are like those who favor progress, provided they can have it without change." We want progress without change. One of the things that I do want to note is pain is not mandatory. Pain comes from that grabbing hold and holding on and refusing to release and let go. There was a story that I had heard a number of years ago about some men that were out on a hunting trip, and they left a great big pot of chili cooking in their campsite. And there was a bear came in and saw this great big pot of chili that was cooking. And the bear walked over to it. Man, it smelled good. And he grabbed the pot and he picked it up. And when he picked the pot up, it was boiling. It burned him. And what do bears do? They don't turn loose of stuff. He hugged it that much harder. And then it burned him that much more. And because it was burning him, he hugged it that much harder. And when the men came into the camp that night, there sat the bear, dead. So one of the things I have tried to remember from that when I'm looking at something and wrestling with whether it needs to be let go is bear hugs pot. It's a great lesson for me. Bear hugs pot. It's time for me to let that pot go. Much of what I've done that has prepared me for transitional work are the trainings that I've done with the Lombard Mennonite Center for Peace and Justice. And when I've worked with them, we've worked with the idea of change. And what we've worked with is dealing with conflict in a healthy, non-threatening way. It's in the clergy workshop and the family emotional process and the advanced clergy workshop. And I had a struggle when I first dealt with that. Conflict? I didn't want conflict in my life. Conflict was what I'd had in my life in growing up in my early family, and it was not something that was pleasant. And agreeing and disagreeing in love, you didn't do that. You didn't do that at all. I had kind of grown up with the idea that if somebody really loves you and if they care for you, they won't challenge you. There won't be conflict. What I would suggest is the Unity Worldwide Ministries in their board manual sends out agreeing and disagreeing in love, which is adopted from these folks. It's part of what the board uses, and it's also part of a member packet here. I would suggest that you get a copy of it, look at it, work with it, and wrestle with it. What I will tell you about this is agreeing and disagreeing in love is not about taking it and rolling it up and slapping people with it like a fly swatter. It's not going up to somebody and saying, "Here, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what you're supposed to be doing." It's about you. It's about you. It's about how to make your life different, not about how to make them different. In his books, I think it's in almost every book, if not every book that I've read of DeMello's, he starts by saying, when you read these stories, remember, they are about you. They are not about someone else. And if you try to apply them to someone else, they will do you harm. They will do you harm as you try to put it out there. So, I guess following along with that, agreeing and disagreeing in love will do you harm if you try to beat somebody else up with it, if you're not applying it to yourself. While we didn't use that exactly in the work we did Saturday a week ago, it really was at the basis of it, because we came together in Hopkoff to look at the past of Unity Church of Hawaii, to see where it might be stuck, to see where some patterns might be occurring over and over. And then we created action steps to see how to deal with these unresolved issues. Unresolved meaning that they were recurring, because if they keep recurring, they're unresolved. And these are in your bulletin, the action steps. They're on the website, so you can see what they are. And as they are completed, this will be noted on the website. Also, as they are completed, if you will keep looking around, you will notice that it is resulting in a change in your ministry as these action steps are done. So get ready for change. And in changing, realize it's necessary to let go of that which you have held on to, that which you have held on to tightly. It may be even necessary to let go of that which you have cherished in order to become what you truly want to become, in order for this ministry to become what it truly can be in the heart of God. You may be saying, well, I just want the church to be like it was when Sky was here. I just want the church to be like it was when Jack was here. Well, I can tell you this, it's not going to be. It's going to be different. And if that's what you're looking for, if that's what you're waiting for, it's never going to be just like that. But when you come together in a consciousness and you draw the right and perfect minister to you, it will be different, but it will be incredible. But it won't be the same. And those who want it to be the same, it's not going to happen. That's just not the way it is. You have to release and let go. Several years ago, I read a story of a youth ed director that took his youth group to a circus. And after the circus, they were able to meet with the trapeze folks. And the trapeze folks talked the youth director into going up and swinging on the trapeze. And so this guy's up there swinging back and forth, and they swung the other one out to him, said, "Get the other one." And he would reach for it with one hand and couldn't get it. He reached for it and just kept going back and forth. And he said at one point he finally realized that if I'm going to get that other trapeze, I've got to let go of the one I'm holding on to. And he swung out and let go and got hold of the other one and swung over. But he had to let go to get to the other one. And the wonderful part is there was a net there. He wasn't going to splatter on concrete if he fell. You're not going to splatter if you let go either. We affirm there's one presence and one power, God the good omnipotent. That presence is there. That presence is your net. Remember that. And it's far more secure than the net that was under that youth ed director. You can't do this by looking over your shoulder. In Luke, the author of Luke told this story about Jesus. And he said unto another, "Follow me." But he said, "Lord, suffer me first to go and bury my father." Jesus said unto him, "Let the dead bury the dead. But go thou and preach the kingdom of God." And another also said, "Lord, I will follow thee, but let me first go to bid them farewell, which are at home at my house." Probably had his in-laws there and had to go. He figured his wife was going to be mad at him if he didn't go back and take care of telling them goodbye. Jesus said, "No man or woman," I won't be sexist with this, "no man or woman having put their hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom of God." I believe what he was saying is get ready. Be willing to let go of all the ideas that have held you back. Be willing to transcend the limited beliefs that have kept you where you are. Be willing to change. Be willing to grow. Be willing to look forward. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready to move beyond survival. You can't do it by standing still. You can't do it by staying in the same place. Get ready. As you do, you will be amazed at how God will work in your life and in the life of your spiritual community, Unity Church of Hawaii. Get ready. God bless you.